Lesson 1-1, words and expressions. So you have heard many times the different words that stand for our math operations, and that's what's listed there at the top. So I'm just going to review those. Addition, if you see the word sum, so the sum of something and something, that means you're going to add. If it is increased by, more than, if they want the total of something, or they just kind of flat out say this plus this. Any of those things indicate that you're going to write an addition problem. So what's happening here is we're going to get expressions today where there are words, and you will have to take the words and translate those into a math problem. Okay? The kind of the good thing today on a lot of these, they don't even want you to calculate the math problem. They just want you to write the problem and stop. All right, let's move on to subtraction. Now, in subtraction, there's a couple of tricky ones, and I'm going to cover those last. This one is tricky, and this one is tricky. We'll hold off on that. So, first of all, subtraction, the difference of and decreased by. Those are pretty basic. Those mean subtraction, even if they come right out and say minus. Okay, so that's where you do subtraction. The two that I have arrows by, those two always worry me because it's so tricky the way that it's worded. And they're only different by one word. What's the one word that they're different by?
Than.
Than, okay? So something less than something, or something less something. So what we have here, and the one looks like it's cut off a little bit, it says 6 less than Bob versus 6 less Bob. They mean two different things. If it says 6 is less than Bob, well, that means that you got to take Bob and subtract 6 away from it because it's 6 less than Bob. But if it's just 6 less Bob, it's just like using the word minus, and it's in order. 6 minus B. Now, I don't know what you can do to try to help yourself remember that. If you see than, that means that you've got to take 6 down or whatever, or maybe imagine it as if somebody was talking about you. If somebody was 6 years less than you, try to think how old they would be and what you would do to get that. So 6 less than Bob. So we're practicing using a B for Bob, and you'd say B minus 6. So the less than means that you have to switch the 6 and B around. When it's just less, you write it in order. It's just like using minus. Multiplication and division aren't quite as complicated. Multiplication, you would see multiply by, product, and times. Division, divided by, and quotient. Question?
Doesn't of mean multiply?
Yeah, good. Let's put that. Of, let's write that down there. Of always means multiply also. We do that, deal with that a lot in percentages, but it's good to know that of always means multiplication. All right, are there any questions about these words? So you're going to be expected to know when you see those written which operation you need to use. Okay, let's try some examples. We'll see if some of you want to help me here on that. Oops, okay, that's not good. Let's go right back here. All right. The sum of 8 and 6. So, does somebody want to try the sum of 8 and 6? Trayton.
Okay.
We don't want the answer. We want you to write the problem using those words. The sum of 8 and 6.
8 plus 6.
Yes, and that is all you write. 8 plus 6. Okay, at the end of class, tell me I owe you a ticket. The difference of 12 and 2. Tori, right? Tori. 12 minus 2. And just leave it at that for right now. Okay? Braxton, 18 marbles divided by 3 friends.
18 divided by 3?
Yep, and you can write it 18 divided by 3 like this, or you can write 18 over 3 like that. Both means division, and quite honestly, in pre-algebra, the one that I'm drawing the arrow to is the one that you're going to use more of. But if you still want to use the division sign right now, that's fine. The cost of 10 yo-yos at $3 each. Layla?
10 divided by 3.
What is it?
10 divided by 3.
No, it's not division. So we're going to buy 10 of them, and they're $3 each. What?
10 times 3.
Good job. So you would write 10 times 3. Try to steer clear of using that X for times. So 10 times 3, or you could do 10 parentheses 3. Okay, any questions? Then, yes?
When's there be a dollar sign by the 3 though?
Well, once you take those things out of the word problem, aren't you just multiplying a 3? And then at the answer, you would put your dollar sign back and know that it's $30. When you're actually writing the problem itself, you won't use any of those symbols. Okay? But good question. Good question. All right. Now, as far as tomorrow, when we're grading, if you had a dollar sign there, I would not mark it wrong at this point. Okay? Any other questions? Now we're going to do order of operations. You've done this for a few years. PEMDAS, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. You ever heard of that? And, you know, I do have an Aunt Sally, just saying. Okay? And I think of her every time I do this lesson. So I write PEMDAS probably a little different than what you've seen before. I totally avoid writing it like this. Is this how you've always seen it, like this? Okay? I don't like that way because it gets kids confused. Here's why. P stands for parentheses. You always do the innermost parentheses first. Okay? That's pretty cut and dry. E stands for exponents. So if there's any exponents written on any of the numbers, they mean to take that number and multiply it by itself that many times. So you do that. Here's where I feel it's important to write it like this.
On addition and subtraction, there's a multiplication side.
Yes, that's supposed to be subtraction. Good call on that. Yes. The MD. I write MD on the same line because they are of equal importance. And the way that you do the MD, it's multiplication and division from left to right. I feel like if people write it like that, everybody thinks, oh, I got to go do all the multiplications first. That's not true. Multiplication is more important than division in that one. Nope, not true. You go left to right, and whichever thing you come across first, that's what you have to do. Multiplication and division from left to right. Addition and subtraction the same way. You don't go through and do all the additions. You do all additions and subtractions from left to right. One's just as important as the other. Okay, so are there questions about PEMDAS and what that means? Let's try to get these 3 examples in here. 18 minus 4 times 2. 18 minus 4 times 2. I don't have any parentheses. I don't have any exponents. I do have a multiplication. So let's do 18 minus 8. That would be the first thing that I expect to see for you to write on your assignment. And then 10. All right, let's look at the next one. It is 8, and then there's a bracket. Quantity 12 minus 5 plus 4 in a bracket. Now, a bracket is really just another set of parentheses. A lot of times you see brackets because there's already a set of parentheses and they just don't want you to get confused between them. So that's why there's brackets. So the innermost parentheses first would be right here. So you got to go ahead and write everything else that you haven't done anything with yet. What's 12 minus 5? So I'm going to put 7 plus 4 in bracket. So I still have a parenthesis, so 8 bracket 7 plus 4 is 11. 88. Yes?
If there are brackets on our assignment, do you want us to write those down when we're going down?
You can write them as brackets or you can write them down as parentheses, whatever you want to do. Okay? If it doesn't confuse you with the parentheses, you're welcome to do that. Okay? All right, last but not least. This one is a little different. It's got 5 plus 9. This bar, what operation does that mean? Divide. So this is kind of one that you kind of have to bend the rule a little bit. You're not going to divide before you add and subtract. On ones like this, you find one value for the top, the numerator, and one value for the bottom, the denominator, then you divide. So my value for the top, 5 plus 9, would be 14. 10 minus 3 would be 7. So that my final answer would be 2.